All right, our previous bite-sized training, or I don't know if you're doing it in order, but in one of our other trainings, we talked about the different requirements for seminary graduation that a student needs to meet. Reading requirement, attendance requirement, assessment requirement, and then a priesthood leader endorsement. Those are your 4 requirements for graduation. So we want to talk about the attendance requirement. And this one's pretty straightforward. It's actually not changed. This is kind of holding steady as far as we're concerned.
Yep.
And it's 75%. That's the magic number, right? They just need to be in class 75% of the time. Okay. Did I go down the wrong way? I did. All right. So here's no, that's all it is. That's easy.
That's it. That's it.
Well,
Just a little there's some repenting that's going to be happening a little later on in the video, but let me tell you from my own personal experience, attendance is one of those things that if you're not on it, it's easy to get behind, and it's a simple thing that can cause huge headaches later on, especially when we're talking about a student approaching their graduation as a senior, and then we look back on their transcripts and they have attendance missing from previous years. It essentially, it's impossible to go back and determine whether that kid was there or not. And it complicates everything so much that attendance, I know it's tedious to mark it every day or to mark it a couple times a week or whatever it might be, but if you stay on it, it's the easiest thing to do. But if we don't do it, it creates a lot of problems.
Yeah, and I think according to the policy, it says mark your attendance at least weekly.
Yeah.
And I know when I had a daily class, it was actually easier for me to make sure I entered it in daily, that I had that in there. Okay.
Yeah, I do it during class sometimes, like during the kind of first part of class, you just kind of can mark it. But yeah.
Yeah. So with that in mind, we thought maybe we ought to look back at the policy. This is where the repenting is going to come into play. But if we went to the policy manual and looked up makeup work, obviously, if they didn't mark their reading, we discussed in a previous video, they can make up their reading now, which wasn't possible before. Now they can just go back and read the chapters they're missing. Now, for attendance, if they drop below 75%, and there's a couple of things that we need to be aware of as we help them make it up. So, for example, makeup work should bless, not punish a student, right? The specific assignment should be determined by the teacher, and I would say in conjunction with the supervisor and the coordinator.
It's nice to have some consistency across a stake.
Yeah. So if you have a student that's missing quite a bit and they want to make up, please reach out to your supervisor and to one of us, your coordinators, so that we can help come up with some of that work. It should be generally related to what they missed, right? The assignments should be meaningful, reasonable, and individually suited to the needs and abilities of the student. And then comes a bunch of like warnings, right? For example,
what warnings are included, Ricky?
Well, I'm glad you asked. For example, you can't use attendance from, you can't use current attendance to help make up previous attendance. That's not how that works. It's got to be additional work, right? You should take the initiative to reach out to students who are missing previous work, right? The
earlier the better.
Yep, you can look at their transcripts. I always like to do it a month before the end of a term anyway, just to see what's happening this semester and any previous semester, so we can kind of get a jump on it, right? All right, now the repenting. Both Mason and I are guilty of this one. Although institute classes can be taken for seminary credit for those who complete high school early, institute classes are not to be used for seminary makeup work. I'm considering this a slap on my hand. I do it. I've offered it several times. I am now promising I will never do it again, because here's the manual saying not to. Okay. You good? And then the last
Yep.
one is they got a whole year after they graduate seminary to
Yeah.
complete any makeup. Okay. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. So how would you want to wrap this up, Mason?
I just think people get weird about credit, seminary credit. Families get weird about seminary credit. And and I think we need to remember that seminary credit is one more tool that we have to invite our students to come to Christ. That's what it is. It's a tool that we have to, and we can manage credit really poorly, to where it does the opposite, or we can be really effective at doing that, of using it to motivate, to hold people accountable, and to inspire them. But if we as teachers and leaders have that frame going in, that credit, graduation, these are tools to invite students to come to Christ, I think that will help us be more diligent and keep us on the right track.
Yep. I like it.